name's Zach Brand. I am the Chief of Technology for Digital Media at NPR, National Public Radio. A major content producer in the United States. We have radio programs that we produce that are distributed to local stations, kind of like BBC Radio you can think of. In some ways, we have an audience on the radio side of around 33 million weekly listeners, but we also produce a lot of content for the web. So we do a couple 100 million page views to our website a week. We're one of the largest podcasters in iTunes. And I'm in charge of the technology strategy for our digital media efforts.
What kind of possibilities for participation does NPR have? Is there any integration with citizen journalism at all?
Sure, absolutely. It's an area that we are expanding into. Right now we have social tools built into our website that allow conversations, allow personalities on the website. And, I think the areas that we're really looking at improving upon that is expanding that so it is integrated better with some of the existing communities that are out there. But right now there is a very active, thriving community and dialogue going on. As far as citizen journalism, our efforts so far that have been really powerful are more focused on what we call crowdsourcing, which is the concept of engaging citizen journalists to go through information that would never be able to be digested and parsed by a single journalist at NPR. So it can be looking for pricing disparity in neighborhoods, and we ask everybody to go out and look at what the price is for a gallon of milk, a loaf of bread, and a six-pack of beer, at their local store. On election night, we were getting real-time engagement from our users talking about any sort of issues around the voting stations and whatnot. So we were able to more quickly and accurately home in on those things.
Since you're at the cutting edge of the digital section of NPR, what do you think is going to be a good strategy for TV and radio? Are you looking at what's happening to printed media at all?
Yeah, I think this is really a question of adaptation. I do think there will certainly be a role for radio and TV and newspapers in a traditional format, for as long as I can foresee. But the model's really changing for them, and the companies need to really think about how they're going to adapt, because if they're just clinging to their existing models and trying to figure out ways to cut costs, to maintain viability, that's not going to work. The digital media space is a lot more competitive than these companies are used to competing against. Back half of 2008, the Google search index hit 1 trillion documents on the internet. The competition is a lot more cutthroat, and it's a lot more noise for people to try to parse through and try to find these companies. So they need to really focus on ways that they can adapt their storytelling, that they can remain relevant with an audience that is starting to really demand things, faster, better, cheaper, more mashable, more on their terms.
Could you mention maybe briefly an example of a successful or popular mashup that you have done?
One of the most popular formats that's very low-techy is we enable users to just take JavaScript or HTML widgets and bring them onto their blogs and into their social networks. So we really think we're engaging in the conversation in a way where people aren't having to link out and say, oh, did you hear this story over there, and go to NPR, but they're actually able to bring it right into the conversation that they're having in their network. So as opposed to trying to force everyone, exclusively you have to come to us to have a conversation on something that we're reporting on. We want to be a conversation wherever you're having it. Some real interesting mashups that have been done, involving Twitter, kind of tying things into the backstory. There was a timeline app that was built that shows the progression of a story over time. A lot of really interesting stuff. Journalism is becoming much more diverse. Conversation is taking place in a lot of places, not just a few focal points. It's occurring on blogs, it's occurring on Facebook, it's occurring on all these places, and we're enabling our content and our contribution to the conversation to occur naturally wherever it's occurring.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.